Packing drums is a lot of work, whether we're doing it in the States or whether we are doing it here in Africa. And with the temperatures at 95 degrees...
What about a glass of lemonade, Phil?
Sounds good to me. Why don't you bring a few groundnuts, too? You know, Pam, it won't be long before we'll be calling those peanuts again when we get back to the States.
Here you are.
Ah, good idea, Pam. Thanks. Only a few more days for us here in Medina. Seems unbelievable that our first term is coming to an end. It's been quite a learning experience.
Remember when we first came? Everything seemed so strange and different. Coming from a small trailer to this big house in Medina seemed like we were moving into a boys' dormitory.
But you sure made it look warm and comfortable. And it seems like home to me. And we'll probably miss it.
Remember all those new foods we had to try? I think one of the things I really remember most is all of the delicious fruits.
Yes, and learning to like rice and soup.
All the changes I had to make in cooking. Just think of all of those bread recipes I had to experiment with before we found one we both liked.
I think it was at least 35, wasn't it?
Probably.
For me, it's been going out to the generator house to crank up the diesel engine each evening, and going down to the well to start the water pump whenever the holding tank was low. A kerosene refrigerator with all of its idiosyncrasies provided lots of challenges to me.
Don't forget your first and only experience changing a tire without a jack.
Or the 9 flat tires we had the first few months in the country.
I think that's a record, don't you?
You know, Pam, we've had so many challenging and rewarding experiences here in Sierra Leone. Our goal has been that we would be able to win people to Christ. And God has provided many opportunities for us to realize that goal.
That they might be won to Christ.
That they might be one in Christ. During those early planning months back in 1983, I felt that one of my major responsibilities would be to work with key laymen of the area churches. After the first few months of getting acquainted with the Tonko churches and the pastors and the congregations, I was struck with the acute need of training pastors rather than laymen. The 7 area pastors had received most of their training at Bendembu Bible School a few years ago. They had not had the opportunity for additional training experiences, and they expressed enthusiasm and even willingness to spend quality time working together. Pastors' workshops were held monthly, covering topics such as worship, biblical studies, leadership, Limba literacy, math, English, and other classes. In addition to the workshops, theological education by extension courses were taught on a regular basis. These courses helped them in developing sermons and in training laymen in their congregations. And we were really thankful for the good attendance, the dedication, and even their eagerness to increase their pastoral skills. Pastor's care is another way of growing together. We would meet in a designated village to encourage the pastor, to strengthen the Christian community, and to hold evangelistic services.
Phil, the Lord has really used you to bring the Tonko pastors into a deeper awareness of Himself. And they are growing in their unity and oneness with Him. They are also encouraging their church to do the same. I remember one of my biggest learning experiences after coming to Sierra Leone. It was to develop the fine art of tropical nursing, or should I say, dispensary nursing. Suddenly, I was being considered the expert, and I felt like crying, "No, Lord, not me. I'm only Pam Leslie. I'm only an RN, not an MD." The Lord was gracious and loving as I often called on Him, and He helped me. What better way to show Christ's love and compassion than to the suffering and sick? Tropical illnesses continue to take many lives, especially children who are 5 years and younger. The infant mortality rate continues to exceed 50%. In the general clinics, malaria, malnutrition, and stomach worm infections are seen daily in this age group. Almost daily, we see cases of childhood communicable diseases, such as measles and mumps. The range of services also includes care for expectant mothers, treatment of accident victims, and various medical problems. My responsibilities not only include diagnosing and treating, but also teaching specific family and personal health care measures on an individual basis and making follow-up contact when possible. 4 times each month, I hold a government-approved under-5s clinic, reaching into 8 major villages and a few smaller ones. Prior to each clinic, one of the pastors conducts a brief chapel service and presents the gospel message. Mothers are encouraged to bring their young children to be weighed and counseled about nutrition and health habits. To receive supplements of milk powder, oil, and bulgur, a wheat product. And to obtain appropriate immunizations. Because of the work of many volunteers and staff, the program reaches at least 650 people each month. In conjunction with the dispensary, there is a maternity center which is primarily staffed by a national birth attendant, Yabali. She handles most normal deliveries. One night, I was called. A woman had been in labor several hours. It was a difficult face presentation. What could I do? I desperately prayed for wisdom, and the Lord brought to my memory instructions given 10 years earlier while I was still a student nurse. Thank the Lord for His faithfulness, because the little girl Aminata is now a healthy 2.5-year-old. Clinics are held during the dry season months in the outlying villages, where otherwise people would have to walk 8 to 15 miles, or they would have to manage without appropriate treatment. The dispensary assistant, Padauda, an interpreter, Pasaidu, Phil and I are always welcomed with the very best African hospitality. Many times we find patients who have been treated with African herbal medicine made of leaves, roots, and bark. Because of the difficulty in giving a correct dosage, many people are more sick from the healing attempts than the actual disease. Witchcraft and African doctors are evidenced in the charms and fetishes seen in their homes and on their bodies. There are many opportunities for prayer with sick individuals and also with their families. We emphasize the healing power of God and His desire to be part of their lives, that they may be one and one with Him.
You know, Pam, I'm really excited to see how the churches are reaching out into other villages. Take our church here in Medina, for example. They have a group called the Gospel Promoters that spend one night a week visiting and holding services in the Medina area.
You and Pastor Bai have been so encouraged with the enthusiasm and response in Milagi and Kagbonko, which are Muslim villages. Just thinking about 250 to 300 people meeting for evening services excites me.
Film campaigns have served to encourage present Christians and to bring new people to Christ. Viewing the life of Christ in some of the Old Testament incidents opened their eyes to many new things. People learn primarily through seeing, so we believe the impact of the films may be felt for years to come as God brings the images back into the minds of the people.
I'm excited about what God is doing through the annual women's meetings. A strong part of the training for the ladies, over 150 meet each year in Medina for devotions, Bible study, health classes, instruction in child rearing, and home economics. Seeing and hearing the women join together in prayer around the improvised altar in the evening service brings assurance that God is showing Himself to the ladies, so they can be one in Him.
The annual laymen's meetings have focused on Limba literacy with the newly translated Limba New Testament. This year, 70 people completed the first 4 books of the literacy course. As people are able to read the New Testament in their own language, spiritual maturity will result.
It has been fun to get to know the children that come around to visit. Every day many come to just say hi and spend a few minutes talking.
Because we also want to win the children to Christ, we work closely with the primary schools. The Wesleyan Church of Sierra Leone believes that this can be done through education. Teachers have a dual responsibility not only to teach, but also to help in developing the church, since many times they are the most educated in the village. Many youth from the Medina Secondary School have been active in the weekly Wesleyan youth meeting. We have watched several become strong in their faith and take the step to become full members of the Wesleyan Church.
It's been a good term. We've really learned a lot. We've had many good experiences, and we've also learned to appreciate each other more.
Yes, that's right, Pam. It's been helpful to sit down and take the time to reflect on the last few years here in Sierra Leone. God is working, and we've seen people come into oneness with Him, just as Jesus prayed for His disciples. I am asking for those you gave me, that they may be one, just as you and I are. Then the world may believe that you have sent me.